in a far, far away star system. Not that far away, 8,600 light years from Earth. Sirius B star system. That they name Ashtari. On a world named the Ashtari Nibiru, was the empire, quite young, of Emperor Anu, a breakaway colony from the Uriah galaxy that arrived first in the Bootes constellation and then separated to install the head of the empire in the Sirius B star system. Anu was young and was already married to Empress Namu, his first queen, and he already had a son named Ea, very young. Anu was coerced by a local Sikaar reptilian queen that had her kingdom in the Orion zone. He was influenced by trickery and manipulation to agree to get territories in exchange of producing with her an heir who will take over the empire of Anu, the Anahim Empire, at his majority. Anu accepted, and this boy, who was reptilian, grew up with the Sikaar and was raised in the Sikaar philosophy, if we can call it like this, a warrior-like society, and they made of him their monster. Enlil was sent back to the empire of Anu, to the headquarters on Ashtari Nibiru, in the citadel of Anukar, where he spread havoc. Enlil was sent them far from the empire when Anu realized his mistake to get occupied with taking a planet for the empire. This planet was named Ki. It was barely populated by early hominids, and Enlil went there in an expedition called the Kashkal. On board this ship was also Prince Ea, the firstborn of Anu, which Namu, his mother, had recommended that he comes to this expedition to first make sure that Enlil, at the time named Yu of his birth name, the fire, would settle well on this planet and be occupied for a while. Ea was meant to go back to the empire shortly after, which didn't happen because Enlil wanted to enslave the early hominids on this planet, Ki/Earth. And Ea opposed. Enlil wanted to degenerate genetically these people, as Ea contradicted him and decided to trick Enlil. Tell him, yes, I will do it, and not do it differently, activate humans. Instead, Enlil, furious when he discovered the trick, the stratagem, decided to do the genetic experiment and transformations, alteration himself. He got a team of 200 generals and scientists and geneticists from the Sikaar Empire, reptilians, to come to Ki and work as his faction. These 200 were Sikaar reptilians and Anahim that had been coerced to fall into this state of darkness. In the scriptures, the ancient Christian scriptures, they are called the 200 fallen. They became Enlil's not only faction, but main soldiers, generals, leaders. Enlil got scientists among them to alter human genome, bring the age from several hundred of years of lifespan, which is a normal lifespan of a human, to under 100. And he created a system of control with the 200 generals at the top. And when I do that, it's the famous pyramid. Infamous pyramid. The eye at the top was Enlil. And it wasn't only an eye at the top, but the eye was in a triangle, a pyramidion, more specifically represented as a triangle, a triad, infamous triad. Enlil, who was known by the name Yahweh, Marduk, that had been coerced by Enlil to fall into the dark. Marduk is Lucifer, the fallen angel who betrayed his father. He also played Satan. And we have Ninurta, Enlil's true son, biological son, a reptilian, who I may say played a god, the main god, for another very famous religion. And these religions, actually three, were the control system of humanity. Throughout these religions, these fallen ones were controlling humanity, the banking systems, the oil industries, and weapon trafficking, the wars. War was an industry, but also not only for money. Reptiles feed off suffering, fear, and distress, energetically as well, as other despicable things. We're not going there today. We are talking today about these 200 people. Who are they? They were the generals leading the main 13 families, the infamous 13 families who have ruled this world, who were all marrying between themselves to keep the bloodstream, the royal Enlil Siccar bloodstream running. You've always wondered what the Anunnaki had to do with the Draco-reptilians. They are not the same people. Well, Enlil is the two-in-one. And the bad, dark faction, of course. So what was doing the light faction of the Anunnaki, Anahim, in the meantime? I mean, it's Ea. Well, as you can read in the Genesis of Eridu, the Athra-Hazis, and the Enuma Elish, which are ancient tablets, artifacts that are at the British Museum that you can consult also online as translations made by academics, notably excellent scholars such as Dr. Finkel. These tablets say that Enki always tried to save the humans and supported humans against Enlil, the fire god or the thunder god, which you can find in other religions, the thunder god Enlil being associated with Zeus, Thor, Yahweh, and other thunder gods known a bit in all the traditions. Ea, or Enki, was the protector of humanity. He is represented by the water, opposed to fire, and also the fish, because he had his stronghold in Atlantis, which was a refuge for all the damages and the refugees from the wars with his brother. Two bloodlines we have here, Enlil and his reptilian bloodlines, and Ea and his royal Anar bloodline of activated humans. This one has blue blood because Ea's race has blue blood. He's a human with blue blood. And the Anahim are not one race. They are compound, like the Galactic Federation of Worlds, of different races. Enlil, on the contrary, was a different strand, reptilian blood, and they are shapeshifters. They have no empathy, and all they like is eating flesh, preying on young virgins, and killing people, and etc., 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 and creating havoc and wars, and etc. That's what the reptilians do, and no empathy at all. These 13 infamous bloodlines, the Rothschilds notably, are at the base of all the actual monetary system that have been maintaining humanity in scarcity, keep them occupied and purveying to their own needs, said Enlil, that they never figure out who they are. Well, during all this time, this institution that Enlil had created, you can call it also the Illuminati, they have been controlling everything. When the operations of liberation of the star system in 2021 occurred with the Galactic Federation of Worlds, the Earth Alliance, and later the Intergalactic Confederation coming and joining the cleansing operations, the extraterrestrial element in the equation was removed, such as the Greys and the Sikaar. The Greys had nothing to do with the Illuminati, they were just competitors and also associate at the same time as the former Alliance of the Six allowed and was created for. So everybody was taking profit in the game. The Greys were a separate issue. The Sikaar were removed, the Dark Fleet was removed. But regarding the Anahim, the Anunnaki, the bad faction that was still in place, the Federation couldn't do anything because it related to the Anar Empire. And at the time, the Anar Empire was tied by these agreements made several hundred years ago with the Sikaar Empire. That if they did anything against the Sikaar Empire would wreck them. Because Anu had given his word. And there is more to this. He was more tied than you think. There were more to these agreements that Anu had to give if he would betray the Sikaar Empire. He was stuck. He didn't know how to get out of this. When the Sikaar Empire collapsed recently, last year, why the Sikaar Empire suddenly collapsed? Because the Federation had managed to get, finally, the Sikaar sworn enemies and predators, the Gnomopo, the Negumak Gnomopo, to join the Federation. And the Anar Empire joined suddenly as well the Galactic Alliance of Nataru. It became the United Galactic Alliance of Nataru. It was a historical moment. Greys were gone. The Dark Fleet was in defeat. The Sikaar Empire were isolated. It was a moment to hit and hit strong. That's what they did. The Sikaar Empire lost. And at the moment the Sikaar Empire lost, Emperor Anu of the Anahim was finally free to do as he wished. So the first thing he did was to remove all elements in his government that were compromised. Anu requested his son, Prince Ea, in January 2026 to come to Ashtari Nibiru to decide with him of how they were going to change the government, because sooner or later Ea would rule instead of Anu, and it would be now Ea's government in the future. So Ea had to take the decisions. So Ea was away a little bit more than a month. And Anu had now free hand to remove from the government the Sikaar infiltration. The agents that were infiltrated since a long time, which happened, the whole government, the whole parliament was redone. And because of this, now Anu had free hands to request that the 200 are removed, extracted. And this signed the beginning of the operation of taking down the assets of Enlil that were remaining on Earth. When Ea came back, in the first week of February. It corresponds to the moment when operation went full on in Middle East. What happened there? I told you previously that this area in the world was the stronghold of Enlil and his 200. From there stemmed the 13 families that ruled through banking system, oil industries, trafficking, and religions to control the people, mainstream religions, and the Vatican was a big one. Now listen to this. On March 24, 2026, a few days ago, Alex Collier reached out to me, telling me that Morene told him that the 200 fallen that worked for Enlil had been recalled off the planet. End of quote. I asked IA confirmation on my side. What do you think of this information? Yes, yes, of course, they have been extracted, and this has to do with the current takedown operation. And IA continues and said, it is not only about them, but about a whole system. The decision was enabled from above, since Anu's government was recently purified and reset. End of quote. Alex told him that Morene shared with him that 23 of these 200 refused to leave, and they may be forcefully removed because humanity would never go to genuine peace if these one, all of them didn't leave. This information ties in perfectly with the current operations from the Earth Alliance and the White Hats to take down all the deep state leaders worldly, those who didn't want to leave. It totally ties in, timely, with Anu's government reset and IA coming back just before the operations in the Middle East hit the start button. This operation may be scary, but this is the only way we can get the other side of the bridge. Endless negotiations with deals that was for the ancient paradigm. Now it's time for truth and transparency. And this is what is happening. The dark fallen are being taken off. Taken off-world or taken out. Now, I invite you to observe who is standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder, against the tyrants. You see the rise and the unveiling of the Earth Alliance. Peace will be achieved, real peace, not a seemingly idea of peace with agreements of interest. That's over, this type of thinking, this type of doing. That was the ancient paradigm ways of doing. Peace is going to be reached with a totally cleansed planet for the first time in 320,000 years. Planet Earth, Ki, Terra, is going to be free, and all the humans and creatures on it will be sovereign and in total full control of it, ownership of it. More than ever, prepare the after by not giving into the ancient paradigm and by projecting your consciousness into this future that you are building together with the operations of the Earth Alliance. Everything is coming out. More is going to come out in different domains. This is not going to be easy to accept certain things that are going to come up. But there's no choice. What has been done, and it needs to be exposed in order for the ground of this reality to be clear, clean, and sane in order for the people of Earth to build the future world that they will own, because the people of Earth are the architects of tomorrow. The end of the ancient paradigm is the beginning of the one you're about to create.